And we have Greg Hudson joining us inside the Pirate Radio Studios. Coach Hud,
Hi.
welcome back.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Good to be back in G Vegas.
Coach Hud, defensive guy, just saw this tweet. Breaking news: for the first time in over 2 decades, the NFL will have 2 blanks starting this weekend. 2 blanks. 2 whats? I'll answer it for you. 2 white cornerbacks. Now, I don't know who's covering this stat.
You know what?
That's not a joke. This is a real thing.
You know what Steve Spurrier saying? Honky check.
Honky check.
Red, honky, honky. There comes the fade. I'm telling you. That was his deal.
Cooper DeJean, is that how you say that guy's name? He was drafted this year.
Iowa.
And Riley Moss will be starting. I love that I saw this because it was retweeted by former East Carolina cornerback who happened to be a Caucasian, Rocco Scarfone.
Former Pirate Honky.
Former Honky.
Riley Moss also got his first interception over the weekend, so the white corners are alive and well.
There you go. It's going to look like college football when you play your dynasty for 10 years. And,
half the team's white, and it doesn't make sense, yeah.
I resemble that comment.
I thought that was funny. Coach Hud, you ever have a white corner playing for you?
No, but I played with a great one. Stan Smagala. He was the original Blazing Caucasian.
I was about to call you a racist, but all right.
He could fly.
Yeah.
Play for the Steelers.
I've heard you speak of the Blazing Caucasian. It's hard to forget that nickname. So.
He's the man.
There you go. All right, Hud, East Carolina 3-3, bye week this week. Army next week, who's undefeated, by the way, running over everybody.
I got them for the Joe Moore Award on my evaluations. I've been watching them.
Do you have the midshipmen?
No.
They like to run the ball.
They run it well, as good as they have, because they're not just hanging on the option. They're running the stretch, and a couple of times I thought they looked better running the side-to-side stretch, and those guys are athletic enough to get running. At times it looked like our old line at Minnesota, because we had some, 6'3", 6'4" interior guys. We had tall tackles, but. Man, our guys would get running, and it was watch out. They were going to come cut you down like high weeds.
Where were your, generally speaking, where were your offensive linemen from? Was it like
Minnesota?
Like 3 states surrounding you, basically? Like, did you have to go outside anywhere to get offensive linemen when you were at Minnesota or at Notre Dame?
Dude, in Minnesota, there are big people just walking through the grocery store.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody's big. Girls are big. And
the mamas make big boys.
Man, they're big, And no, you don't have to go far because you can just go next door and you're in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Same amount of big people. And then you can just drop down into Chicago and then go over to Ohio and watch out.
Big.
Yeah.
Big. Okay. All right. Easy.
I mean, they're like the biggest hands in the world I've ever seen in my life. They're like Michael Jordan hands, but they were enormous.
So, Army has UAB this week, which brings me to Trent Dilfer. Did you see his post game a couple weeks ago?
What did he do now?
Well, he's got, and you're a guy that
I like him.
You tell it like it is. When you were coaching, I don't think you would say anything crazy. You never did with us, like to fire up the other team or to throw anybody under the bus. But you were kind of direct and to the point.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's in his post game. They lose the game. There's some chattering going on in the background, and he said, "That's my grandson. Just bring him up. Bring up my grandson. It's not like we're the freaking University of Alabama here. Just bring my grandson up." So
love it.
He says that Monday at the press conference. A reporter says, "Trent, would you like to just kind of clarify what you said the other day?" And he said, "Were you there?" And the guy said,
Even
"No."
Better.
And Trent Dilfer repeated word for word what he said and just went on with it.
Yeah, it's Trent Dilfer.
Okay. At East Carolina, would
I brought my kid into the press conference?
Or would you have said it's not like we're at North Carolina or anything?
No, because we were whooping them. No, I wouldn't have said that.
That is true.
Yeah. If you're beating them, you can say all you want, but he's right at that point. His statement is correct. They are not.
So
they are not roll tide. Well, they might be roll tears right now until they get another W.
At the time, and I think he was kind of disparaging his own school program, but also I think there was only one reporter there. So I think he was like taking a shot at the media too. Like, there's one guy in here.
Yeah.
Let's not act like this is a big deal kind of thing.
He's going to take a shot.
I don't know, man. Trent Dilfer, I feel like he's doing this as a hobby, like gardening or putting together puzzles. Like, he doesn't have to do this. I don't know. Man, I could be wrong. I don't know the guy, but is he really bought into what he's doing?
Yeah. Yeah. That's in his DNA to be 2 feet in and get
Yeah,
after
I guess so.
You know? I mean, you can see the type of competitor he is with how he was as a quarterback when they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. He said, Ray Lewis, go tackle that guy.
Right on. I won't turn it over. Then you won't have to break my neck.
Jamal Lewis run for 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
They were a pretty dominant team.
God rest his soul, Monty Kiffin was running a defense that was, so good. And they would just suffocate you.
They were dynamite. All right, Coach Hood, how does Vanderbilt beat Alabama? How does Arkansas beat Tennessee? Does everything that happened last week happen?
How does Army and Navy have upsets? They were running the quarterback. You got to account for him. They found ways to create seams, and they had that tough guy back there running the ball, and they weren't worried about him getting absolutely blasted and hit because there's some dudes over there that'll hurt you. And they had a great scheme for what they saw, and they got an extra gap created by the pullers that they had or the draws that they were running. And that quarterback can wear you out, especially if they keep going to it.
Transfer from New Mexico State there at Vanderbilt now, their quarterback.
The other reason, look at 2 games this year, one I watched in person and one I watched up close, which was an amazing experience because I got to watch it while I was sitting next to Coach Holtz, senior, the Georgia-Bama game. That was a ball buster of a game.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, Notre Dame. Physical. Those were 2 games that you just let the tank go dry and beat each other's brains out. What happened to both of them?
Yeah,
they played at night and they lost the next week. Now, maybe it's a little different these days with how guys practice. I don't know how they practice the next week. I know after a big win that was physical, when we came back to practice the next week, it didn't matter. We won the Super Bowl. We were going to get after it on Tuesday and Wednesday just to keep that edge.
What is the approval rating of DeBoer right now after beating Georgia and then the following week having an embarrassing loss to Vanderbilt? Are those people like...
Man, he could walk on water and they say he can't swim. I mean, that's the deal. That's the deal.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to beat him up.
Yeah, that's I figured.
Didn't you just mention Army?
Yeah.
They're playing them, right, next week?
UAB is playing Army.
No. This week?
Yeah. ECU plays Army next week.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to give you a little bit.
All right.
361.2 yards rushing a game.
Yards.
Right? They're leading the FBS by 60 yards. All right? Average at 4 yards a carry. Tied for second in the nation with only allowing 1 sack, which they don't throw it much, but still, you got to account for that. And they've got the same 5 starters every game. They're a finalist in the Joe Moore Award. And we just announced the finalists, or just cut it down.
How many you got now?
I got to count them here. I literally just got the email in the car when I was coming in, and I text Aaron Taylor. I just said, hey, can I talk about this on the radio? He's like, hell yeah. But Google the Joe Moore Award. It's the only award in college football that's for the unit. It's not for an individual. And it's about teamwork and togetherness and toughness and all those fun things. So Army, Clemson, Iowa, always good. Kansas State, Louisiana, LSU, Miami. That's Miami of Florida. Michigan, Navy is there.
Okay.
Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Rutgers. SMU is playing some football.
So they are one of the teams. I do this every year. Just write a team off week 1 or week 2. They are looking a lot better than they did when they were struggling out of the gates.
Yeah, they're going to get some players down there. Then Tennessee, Texas Tech, who I evaluate also, they look good. Another team that's got a good offensive line, UConn, UNLV, West Virginia, Western Michigan. That's the best offensive lines playing football right now overall in the country in a lot of categories that we evaluate.
And you are a part of the evaluation process committee?
Yeah, I'm a board voter.
Okay.
And I'm one of the guys that actually had been around Joe Moore as a player and then been around Joe Moore as a graduate assistant. I worked for him, and I had a year straight to be with him and learn. And that was probably the best year overall, top to bottom, of information and knowledge that I got in 1 year.
Well, I'll tell you what I like about it. You've got Navy, Army, Western Michigan, Louisiana, teams like that in it.
Yeah.
And you don't just go by the top 25.
No, we don't. Because the categories, it's on finishing. It's on how good these guys are running double teams and getting to the linebacker. How good's their pass protection? Are they physical? Are they finishing? If you want to see a guy that finishes, just watch the left tackle at LSU. Like I told you before, he is the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. Tear that building up. He is amazing.
Greg Hudson joining us inside the Pirate Radio studios. Hud, you said something before we came on, too, that I wanted to hit on.
Uh-oh.
And I didn't know where you were going with it. You said Dabo's got something going here.
Yeah, I'm watching this close.
Maybe a trend changer or whatever. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? The no portal, the let's stay with our guys. They got boat raced week 1. Since then, they've won 4 in a row. They look really good offensively. Solid defense as always. And you said you're going to just keep an eye and see what they do.
I think he's going old school on it. He's like, I'm going to get my young teenagers, and I'm going to develop them. Those 18-year-olds are going to come in as freshmen. We're going to redshirt everybody, and we're going to keep developing our program, which is how it's been done for 100 years.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about that. Now, he took a lot of crap from the fans who don't know a whole lot about, development of a player. And I'd tip my hat to Dabo standing ground, for the cause a little bit on that.
Well, here would be my worry as a fan. I would say it's great that you want to develop players. Are the players going to stay there long enough to develop? Or are they just going to head out of town? That would be my worry.
That's your job. Is you don't recruit players anymore just to get them there as freshmen. You're recruiting them for the next 2 years inside the building. So freshman and sophomore retention is a percentage that you need to look at. And if you have a great retention and you're keeping guys happy, and if you can win. Now here's the other thing: style points are back in, so people can go up in the rankings. So if you got a chance to hang 60 or 70 on somebody,
speaking of Steve Spurrier,
it's going to be Nebraska again, back in the 80s and the 90s.
Tom Osborne,
Frazier.
Yeah.
But if they do that, what do you get to do? Empty the bench.
Yeah.
And you're playing everybody. And Dabo was a walk-on, so he's sensitive to that. And the other thing will be interesting to see is he going to be in better shape than everybody if he stays with this system, because now the scholarship numbers are changing to 105. They were 105 when I played. That means that there was a lot of good players. It's going to hurt the walk-on program a little bit, but you're still going to need 15 or 20, and I'm going to watch that close.
So I just Googled, and I think I found the answer. If they're not bringing anybody in from the transfer portal, how many left and went to the transfer portal? According to this 24/7 Sports, 12 Tigers left the program and entered the portal, which isn't a huge number. So.
When did they leave? Did they leave in the fall, after the fall season? And how many left in the spring? Because if you're leaving in the spring, that's usually the underachiever, or they've been told that, the light's getting really dim here for you. I advise you to go somewhere else. And a player would rather you tell them the truth than you lie to them, obviously, and get them to stay, and then they don't play, and all of a sudden they're a senior, and they're looking at you like, man, I wish you would have told me when I was a sophomore, because you give them a chance.
Zach, pop quiz. 4 schools did not bring in any transfer portal players. Clemson, and who were the 3 others?
Army, Navy, Air Force.
Bada bang.
That's why you're the video producer of this program.
Well, 3 of the 4 are on the finalists for the second most popular award in college football, the Joe Moore Award, behind the Heisman.
Coincidence? I think not.
No. If you got a good line, watch out. What would you rather have, a great offensive line or a great tailback?
Yeah, you got to go.
Great offensive line.
You got to go O-line. As much fun as it would be to have Bo Jackson. You know what? I want Bo Jackson.
Have you seen Ashton Genty?
I want Bo.
As the offensive line coach, if you ask me, would I rather have a great offensive line or a great tailback? Give me Herschel and Bo all freaking day because he's going to make 2 or 3 miss or he's going to run 2 or 3 over. And I just got to know I got to protect my guards because the guards, boy, I've seen some bad guards this year.
But we have had our issues over the years at East Carolina because I always hear offensive line is the toughest to recruit. Coach, would you agree with that?
No, not if you have a great developmental program. Get big dudes, get a bunch of defensive linemen, and move them over. Willie Smith. Just keep recruiting Willie Smith.
Well, what is the toughest position to recruit?
Quarterback. All the way to the NFL. They can't get it right, and they do it year-round. Quarterback.
I know one team that got it right.
Who?
The Washington Commanders.
Man, he's good.
He's good.
He's got Joe Sloan written all over him, too.
And I thank Joe Sloan every day for that. We need to take a break. Do you have something, Sean?
He mentioned developmental programs. Is that a program that's kind of slipping through the cracks?
No, that has the program within the program to get these guys bigger, stronger, faster, and coached up. And if you've got a really, really good offensive line coach that can get them going and you get them playing together, man, now you got a chance.
You almost, I hear coaches compare it somewhat to like you have to be a fortune teller in a way. You have to see what that guy's going to look like in 3 years when you get this kind of lanky kid that's tall and's got a frame, right?
Give me Zach Slade all day.
Yeah.
Give me 20 of them.
Yeah. I'll take 20 of them to hang out.
Pierre Bell was a tailback.
Downtown with, too.
I mean, Pierre Bell was a tailback.
I like P. Bell. Let's take a break. We'll come back more with Coach Hud, Greg Hudson. We'll run over some more games coming up this weekend and have more for you. If you got a question for Coach Hud, you can get that in. Our Indiana guys in Vegas.
Man, I'm all Hoosier now. I'm on this bandwagon.
They are undefeated.
And the best line for the best line of a coach.
Wait, we're on the air.
We're on? Oh crap, my bad.
All right.
What did Signetti say? He looked in the camera and he said, "I win. Google me." Was the best.
I like that
because he does.
Back with you after this. All right, back with you, Pirate Radio Live on a Hudson Thursday.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
We got some college football coming up tonight.
Let's talk about the Hoosiers. Where's my guy?
He's in Vegas. He's at the craps table or something. What's your favorite game in Vegas, Coach Hud?
No, couldn't tell you. I've played the tables, blackjack, and craps probably 3 times.
Yeah.
I played craps once, and I was next to Skip Holtz and Barry Alvarez, and they got hot. I didn't know what I was doing, and Skip said, "Keep putting it right here." And all of a sudden, I had about $1,000, and I said, "Give me those chips. I'll see you later."
Barry Alvarez looks like he'd be a fun guy to hang out with.
The best.
Who are the best hangs in coaching in your career?
I got to go to one.
Who?
Dennis Erickson.
Okay. He was a little shady down there at Miami, maybe.
He was so much fun. He was beautiful.
Dennis Erickson, yeah.
When I met him for the first time in person, it was I was out in California recruiting JUCOs, and he was at Oregon State, and he took that job, I think, for like $60,000 because he was still getting paid from Seattle. And we just got talking. I said, "You know, Coach, we met before." And he said, "Really, when?" I said, "When you sent Bernard Clark through our flex line and the fight started for the Hurricanes." He goes, "Oh, yeah, that was great, wasn't it?"
He had Hushmanzada and Chad Johnson there at Oregon State and got him in a big bowl game.
Yes,
maybe against Notre Dame.
They were at JUCOs in Southern California, and I was trying to just get in the game on them.
Yeah. And I said he was shady at Miami. I might want to walk that back. I think he was actually, I don't know him personally, but like I remember in that documentary now, he was actually a pretty clean-cut guy from what I remember.
Everybody that's been there is a clean-cut guy. It's a different deal down in Dade County. I don't
know if I'd call Jimmy Johnson a clean-cut guy.
He was no different than Dennis.
No.
Butch was the same. They were on.
Yeah.
You have to go to Dade County and see it to believe it. And you just go, "Yep. What are we talking about? Culture?"
Well, it felt like Jimmy became one with the whole deal down there.
That's what you do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if those other guys did that.
They didn't have to because Jimmy had it cranked up. They just had to not screw it up. And as Howard Snellenberger said, "We're going to recruit the great state of Miami."
Yeah.
And they went nowhere past
Palm
Beach County. I mean, maybe into Palm Beach, but it was Dade and Broward.
Anybody else come to mind? Fun coaches along the way you've hung out with?
I mean, we mentioned Barry. All the Stoops guys are a riot. They're fun.
How about old Moore? I haven't seen you here, I don't think, since Kentucky beat Georgia.
Oh,
I know we've
awesome.
talked, but I don't know if I've seen you. I was wondering, man, has he...
Oh, I got one for you. Dan McCarney was at Iowa State. He was Alvarez's D coordinator at Wisconsin.
I don't know that name.
He became the head coach at Iowa State, and then after Iowa State, he was, for a minute, Urban's DC or D-line coach.
Oh, I recognize him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you want to get a guy to come in and get the people fired up, you bring in Dan McCarney to talk.
By the way, Chandler, shout out to Matt Campbell. I feel like I say this a lot where
Right?
I always put Matt Campbell and Clausen from Wake Forest in the category of, man, I wish other coaches would stay at their job and not jump to the next one, but they kind of missed the bus.
Waited too late.
But good for Campbell.
Yeah.
They're undefeated right now and looking good.
Worked with John Haycock, who's the defensive coordinator there. His whole family are big Ohio guys. His brother was years at Ohio State. John at one time was the head coach at Youngstown after Tressel. Really good football coach. He was the D coordinator with at Toledo and Marcus Freeman. That was his first full-time job. So that's how I got to get connected with Marcus. So really good staff they have there, and they're just doing their thing.
Couple questions for you. Would you have left East Carolina in 2010 after 2009 if Skip didn't take a job somewhere else?
Florida State?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were gone regardless?
They doubled my salary.
Okay. I'm okay. It's a yes or no. I'm not accusing you of anything.
Yeah.
So you'd have been gone. Have you, and we're talking about with Campbell and Clausen, have you ever said no to a job you regretted?
Not that I regret. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I was fortunate to have a chance at LSU. I had a run going where I had a couple jobs I turned down. They won the national championship the next year.
Damn.
And then Urban.
Could you let me know that next time so I can put a bet in? Hey, Clip, I just turned down this job. You might want to put in something.
I thought about that myself.
Urban at Utah, Florida? Yeah. And how about, I mean, the regrets, whatever, but like, did you take one and be like, man, I kind of wish I wouldn't have done that? Yeah, you were good with every choice.
I had one that I had a chance to go to Wisconsin, and I had only been at Minnesota for 9 or 10 months, and I was really between that one and the LSU one were at the same time. And Kelly, my wife, she looked at me and she said, you know, 9 months ago you were the linebacker coach at Cincinnati. Now you're in the Big Ten. And I thought, she's right.
Yeah.
And I stayed there, and 9 months later I'm the defensive coordinator at 35.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just have to believe in yourself. And my kids were young. I mean, my kids were, when we went to Minnesota, it was 5'4", 2 and new. And so I wouldn't have seen them.
Right. It's a lot, man. How do you even balance that at home with these guys you bring in that become kind of your stepkids in a way, your players?
Yeah.
Like that's got to be tough on
My
you guys.
kids were always around because I made sure the guys I worked for, like Skip, they're so family oriented, and Glenn Mason. Mace was the first guy I worked for, and so was Rick Minner at Cincinnati. My kids were always around, and heck, my little nephew Anthony Barr was a little twerp and played for the Cowboys, and
Vikings.
He went to all the football camps, Cincinnati, Minnesota, and tore it up. And you get with the guys that you know you're going to have a chance to still raise your family. And I remember Mace told me one time, he said, you're gonna raise your kids before you coach somebody else's. And he was the first time I ever worked 6 to 6. So we were working 12 hours. I mean, lunch was brought in, and we went 12 hours nonstop and got more done. And then we did it here with Coach Holtz. And those 10 years that I did that, we won more football games, and I had more fun and raised my family. Heck, I went to a parent-teacher conference, you know, during the season, you know. And then my players, like Pierre and those guys, they would go to my kids' sporting events.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah. How about though, like and it's just part of it. But the guilt feeling of like leaving ECU when you brought it, like Mikael Brooks, he was still here in 2010, right? From those great defenses, like you gotta say, Mikael, they're doubling my salary. I hope you understand.
I
Like,
know this. The players are going to eventually leave you too.
Yeah,
I mean, within 4 years, they're going to leave you.
Yeah.
And it's.
By the way, I saw Dustin Lomback in Charlotte.
Did you?
Yeah, he said he enjoyed your.
Is his neck out about here? Still?
Oh yeah, it looks like he can still put the pads on and
Tank
play.
neck.
He said he enjoyed your y'all's
It
conversation.
was nice.
did you have episode 3 Superman Gold Edition for him?
Did you have any of your magazines with you?
Nah,
He just what he sell one for? He said 40,000, 60,000.
it was something up there. Crazy.
That's nuts. Coach Ed was watching an interview with Troy Aikman, and they were talking about Jimmy Johnson. And I remember Coach Mack saying this. I think you might have as well, or talked about it. But he said Jimmy Johnson was the only coach that came out and said, because they asked him about Michael Irvin, and said, look, if Emmitt Smith doesn't show up for 20 minutes or whatever, he's starting on Sunday.
Right.
If one of you guys does that, you're gone.
You're fine.
He said he's the only coach that came out and told everybody, I'm not treating you all the same.
No, that's.
But you've said that
there's been a
too,
bunch.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll be treated fairly, but not equally.
Fairly,
And
but not
fair's where
equally.
you get a pig in the summer, so you can figure that one out too.
But I mean, that's the way it goes.
It is. That's
just,
how it is. Here's the other thing about what's going on in the portal. In that situation right there, that doesn't happen as much right now because we're trying to treat everybody the same and give them the same type of salary or whatever it's called. And what you're going to find out is when these kids get out of college, they haven't faced any great adversity. And now their first adversity is going to be when they're on a full-time job or they're raising a family or they're having a child. And they, you're not tired until you got to be at work at 6 and the baby's crying at 3. That's when you're tired.
they're going to go to their job, not like it, and enter the job portal and realize nobody's picking them up.
There's no portal. Oh, if I take that job, I got to take a pay cut.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. All right. Thank you, Shirley Rhodes. Not as talkative about her birthday week as Chandler Honeycutt was. Although, does your
It hasn't started yet.
See, Shirley said her birthday week started last weekend.
No, birthday week started officially Sunday when you're 7 days out. So Sunday.
I think since it's on a Sunday, you could technically start it on this Sunday if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Depends on what calendar she goes
I didn't
by.
know there was a birthday week. I've been ripped off.
Nah,
all my
yeah,
life.
there's not.
No, there's not. I choose to make it
You're no
a
longer
birthday
my
week.
favorite teammate.
Oh, you have been
he wants
demoted.
He wants your military bowl jacket back.
Here's the question: who is? If not Shirley, because it's slim
She
pickings.
still is.
Yeah, I mean,
Big gap.
yeah.
I could kick her to the curb and still have nobody.
This was off the air, but Coach Hud said that we were all, other than Shirley, we were all backup scout team,
That's awesome.
which is not good, folks.
Still part of the team. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Depends on what school you're at. If you're in Tallahassee, might be good.
There you go. We get free shoes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Cars.
Whatever you want.
We get the gear, we're good.
All right, let's pick some games. We got some big ones coming up on Saturday. We'll run down the list here and start with what does Alabama do to South Carolina? Do they take some anger out
In Bama?
in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, they win.
Okay.
But the defense for South Carolina is playing their butts off. They're trying.
Red River.
Texas.
Is Texas far and away the team, or are we waiting on them to slip up like these other teams have?
Anymore, if you lose one, it's just a matter of when you lose it. As long as it's before this weekend and before, you can get by with it. You lose in November, it's tough.
Well, you know who Texas has next week?
Who?
Georgia. It's a hell of a-
Where?
in Austin, it appears.
And then, do you know who they have after Georgia?
Another meat eater.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, at Vanderbilt.
They're not a T-Rex, but they're like a velociraptor now.
Who's that?
Vanderbilt.
Vandy?
Now, Clark Lee is a really, really, really good football coach. Really good. Good linebacker coach. He's smart. Vanderbilt grad. He cares about the place. He's passionate. He was under Mike Elko. He's trained under Mike. He's been at Wake. And he's a good football coach. So they're going to be a pain in the butt for people.
USC has lost 2 games. Who'd they lose to last week, Coach Hud? I'll tell you.
The Gophers, remember? And I even said, when I was up in South Bend, I said, I opened my big mouth and said the only thing they got in common was the color of their uniforms.
Yes. You told me that line on the phone last week.
And then Lincoln Riley let me down. But, the row the boat got them.
They host Penn State this week, USC.
Man, the only thing is they're a wounded animal backed into a corner. They've got players. They have improved their defense. And I saw where Franklin's already complaining about travel.
Mm-hmm.
So is he setting it up for, okay, we've got 5, now we go on a road, we get a little lull. So when somebody starts saying that before the game, makes me wonder. But I'm going to go with the Trojans.
All right. Coming off a loss. I like the bounce back. Ole Miss coming off a loss goes to Baton Rouge to face LSU.
Oh, man. That is a huge rivalry. Ole Miss and LSU is a rivalry. And
a night game, too, by the way.
Oh, how's Kiffin been on Twitter? Is he saying anything or is he quiet this week?
That's a good point. I think he's probably been quiet this week.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to go with the Fighting Sloans all the way.
All right.
I'm going to rub every rosary bead I got for Joe Sloan.
By the way, Mac pointed this out. All those lines very similar. Culture talk.
Okay.
Ole Miss 3.5-point road favorite. Ohio State, we'll get to them in a moment. 3-point favorite at Oregon. And then you had the game we talked about earlier, Penn State, 4-point favorite at USC. All those road teams are favored.
Well, you got to look at these are uncharted waters for the teams playing. There's no history, so you can't go back and say, well, we're 5-0 against Oregon on the road. You don't have that stat, and
I was watching something, Coach. I think it said 8-1 are the records when Big Ten. 1-8 would be the records when a Big Ten team is traveling like 2 time zones so far this season.
Really?
So it has not been good for the traveler.
I'm hanging on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's for the kids, I don't know when it's going to add up to them because the travel for the players is the best quiet nap time that you're going to get the whole week. And the guys get on the plane, and it's boom, boom, out go the lights, man. And it's snore city. Well, headphones on, you don't hear it like you used to.
Miami slept for the first 3 quarters of their game against Cal, and they woke up in a big way. Man. Cam Ward and company. All right, Ohio State, Oregon, the big one, 7:30 on NBC.
Bucks.
Okay.
Bucks.
Without hesitation. Can Coach Prime in Colorado 4-1 knock off Kansas State in Boulder Saturday night?
3.5 home dogs.
They're dogs.
Yeah.
At home.
K-State.
3.5.
I'd like to see him win. I just can't go against K-State on this one. I think Genie's got to rub that bottle to have something happen, and it may have run out for just a little bit. Who's hurt for Colorado? Now they got it all out where you can see the injuries. Are all the freakazoids playing?
I don't know. Where do you see the injuries?
Oh, you guys don't have that special website you can
No,
go to on the dark
you
web?
do.
It's the coach's one.
Can you send that to me?
No.
Back when you coached at ECU, we had an injury report. Now, how true it was, it probably wasn't at all. But now we don't even have one of those.
I didn't know that. That's how much I pay attention to.
Yeah.
They don't put it out, huh?
Nope. Nothing.
Man, they should put it out because that just means that there's people infiltrating to get information. Then that puts young student workers and people in the office, puts them in vulnerable positions.
That's a good point because that's how we have to find out, is Javius Bond going to play this week? We talk to people, and it makes it kind of even more awkward if the coach would just come out and say he practiced this today or whatever, but we don't get a lot of that.
I don't know why people just don't go try and watch from a distance somewhere. What's the kid's name from Michigan?
Connor Stallions.
Just pull a little Connor Stallions light and, go over and along the fence or somebody's got a tree somewhere.
They're pretty straight over there. They'll find you.
Coach, you should start some kind of like private eye service, but for sports, where you'll send out people to get information on other teams.
Make a lot of money.
Hell yeah. I don't know how legal it would be, but. Again, if you're at a safe distance, should be all right.
Yeah, I was just there on a visit. I just happened to wander by.
You have your dog on a leash. I'm just walking my dog while looking in these binoculars.
Dog's got a camera on top of his head. I didn't have.
It's not even a real dog.
I didn't have a camera.
Dog's got a GoPro. Stuffed dog with a GoPro.
Dog's walking like this.
All right. Talked about Matt Campbell a moment ago. Iowa State going to your favorite place, Coach Hud, Morgantown, West Virginia, to face
Take
those
Iowa State
folks.
all the way.
Night game. Still Iowa State?
Taking Iowa State.
All right, there you go. Florida, Tennessee. Tennessee bounce back at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it was like they had the switch turned off. They couldn't get anything going, which was surprising.
I'll ask you a Big Ten game, even though any chance we boiler up at Illinois?
No.
Yeah, okay.
And that's an easy bus ride. Short trip, get whacked, come on back, be home for dinner.
I'll limp in for dinner. The Golden Domers have Stanford on NBC at 3:30. W there.
What time?
3:30 on
No,
NBC.
I thought you said 10:30. I
3:30.
thought that game was at home.
Yeah. All right.
Which they only play the California teams in South Bend in October. They won't come in November. That's part of the deal. That's part of the deal.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, did you notice that outside, Sean? You're in pants and a jacket, but did you feel that nip?
Oh, there's a nip in the air.
Man, I was like, walked outside. I said, whoa.
There's a nip in the air, bud.
That fall nip
Almost cut a hole in my shirt.
is out there. Coach Hud's got 2 holes in the shirt.
There are 2 little nips.
Coat rack.
All right, back with you. Pirate Radio Live.
Got you guys fired up today.
I love when Coach Hud comes in.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. He's got the best show and tell of anybody in America. He's got some people in the Rolodex.
That was a good one.
Yeah. All right, Shirley, Zach, thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
Of course.
We will see you Monday. No live show tomorrow. We got a best of.
You
We got
are
a
correct,
3-day
sir.
weekend, Hud.
Man, I was like thinking, I'm going to come spend a couple hours here, watch some ball,
Shirley Hud texted
hang
me
out with
today.
my friends, hang out with my favorite teammate.
I said, Hud, you good for 5? He said, yeah, if you need me for the pregame, let me know for Saturday. I was
Oh.
like, we don't have a game.
We don't
I
have
was
a game
like, who
this week.
cares? You still want to do a show?
You can come out here and do a show. I just won't be here.
You're your best teammate here.
I know how. I'll produce it.
We'll be here.
Oh, you got a new favorite now. There you go.
We'll have a call-in show.
How about 2 weeks? ECU Army, where are you going to be in 2 weeks?
I'll be here.
All right, well, let's do it then.
Yeah.
Because that's at 8 a.m. start time. Let's roll early.
Yeah.
Show goes from 8 to noon.
I'm eating lunch by then. I'm up so early, so don't worry about it.
Good deal. Sean, enjoyed it.
All right, man. I'll see you Monday.
We're dropping some of our ECU Basketball Media Day coverage on our social media platforms and on YouTube, so stay tuned for that. Coach Hud, awesome show, man.
Thank you.
Love
Great
having you
being
on.
here.
A lot of fun.
Missed you guys.
And you have a message.
Check out the Joe Moore Award and be nice.
Yeah.